All right, we're live. Hey guys, Frank with TITHE.LY. Great to virtually be with you this morning. Again, 9 a.m. out on the West Coast, coming to you live from San Diego in my home office. As always, I am joined today by Dan Murray from Oasis Baptist Church out in Las Vegas, Nevada. Dan, it's great to be with you this morning.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Hey, I'm always happy to talk with another church. Sorry, camera issues. We're back. I'm always happy to talk with another church, especially one from Vegas. That's my hometown. So I get back maybe twice a year now to visit the fam. My mom's still out there. My sister, one of my brothers is still. So I got some family back there still. Try to head out there for Christmas for a week or so, and then at least once in the summer. So yeah, man, that's home.
Yeah. I'm a native as well, one of the few. And contrary to people's popular belief, there are churches and Christians in Sin City, and so
that's right.
Yeah.
And not everybody lives in a casino either. There's actually homes, like
That's true.
You go out of downtown, and people have been born there and live there.
Yeah.
That's the most common question I get is like, you're from, like, you were born in Vegas, like people live there.
I had people convinced in college that we had slot machines in our church lobbies, and I was totally joking, but they thought it was for real. So
yeah,
no, we don't.
So born and raised. How did you tell us how you got into ministry? Tell us a little bit about your church, what you do there, those kind of things.
Well, growing up in Vegas, this might be contrary to popular belief. I was raised in church. Grew up at Liberty Baptist Church on the west side of town under Dr. David Tice, and was there for majority of my younger years. Honestly, I was called into a youth ministry, and specifically my senior year in high school. And that was a time frame where a lot of teenagers are kind of fluctuating through decisions. Felt a desire, a strong call to go into youth ministry. Went to college out in Pensacola, Florida. Pensacola Christians, my alma mater. I tell people I was there for 6 years, and they question, "Oh, it took you that long?" But I got a graduate degree as well. But
it took me 5, so I have no
judgment,
okay. No shame. It took me 5, but
two pieces of sheepskin in that time frame. But honestly, after college, came back to Vegas, interned with several other area churches, and came on staff with a church in the east side of town part-time for the first 6 years. And that's where really with youth ministry, got my hands in, and then also on the administrative side of things. My brother's an executive pastor here in town. Our mom did human resources for her entire career. So that was kind of one of those areas where we most likely kind of got influenced from her. And so
right.
I've been here at Oasis for almost 3 years. This August, coming up on 3 years. I serve as an associate pastor. I deal with the youth ministry, the financial side of things, meet with our finance committee, a lot of the administrative stuff at this time. So it's been great. Our church, we run about 225 pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Now our online numbers are in the 900s. No, I'm kidding. No, but
I was like, that's amazing.
That's awesome. No, I had a joke. If you just take every view and multiply it by 2.5, then you get your new attendance. But no, so we're a smaller church, but we've been around the Las Vegas Valley for over 55 years.
Wow.
In a variety of different locations. So God's been tremendous, and I serve here under our lead pastor, Aaron Flanagan. He's been the lead for the last 8 years here at Oasis.
What part of Vegas are you guys in?
So technically, we're in Henderson. We're we're in the southeast suburb, and so we're like really right on the line of Henderson and Las Vegas. Yeah. So the Green Valley area is where we're at.
I went to El Dorado High School, so
okay,
out in that neck of the woods.
Yep. Familiar with that area.
Yep. Well, very cool, man. And you guys have been using TITHE.LY for the last
little over 2 years.
2 years. Okay, I was gonna say for the last year or so, but wow, 2 years.
No, it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we were chatting, and on the show, for anybody that might be new watching, we've just been talking with church leaders, digging into what church has been like as we've all moved into this online world, and just trying to pull out practical tips about what churches are doing to thrive, and sharing stories about how God's working and what we're learning through this process. So, Dan, you were mentioning some things about, how you've moved online and what that process was like, as well as, maybe we can, dovetail that into how giving is gone and things like that. So talk to us about, what happened on March 15th or whatever that Sunday was when we all went online.
March 15th was actually right around that time frame where all of our heads collectively as pastors just exploded and like, what do we do next? Like,
were you streaming before at all?
We were recording, editing, and posting on Mondays. That's been our tendency. And here's the irony. We've had the conversations within our own staff and other churches here in town that before all this happened, live streaming was almost a deterrent to in-person attendance. We had all the equipment. We were ready to go.
Yeah.
And so it was just one of those things where right around that weekend, March 15th was our actual last in-person service where we saw obviously attendance drop 45%, just because
in that service. Everyone's worried. Everyone heard in the news, that kind of thing.
Well, now we did live stream that weekend too. Learned some lessons with it, what to do, what not to do. Unfortunately, our local ISPs out here couldn't handle a lot of the bandwidth.
Oh no!
Of that initial
YouTube and Facebook. A lot of platforms had trouble that first weekend.
Oh yeah. Yeah, thankfully they've caught up and fixed a lot of things. So we've been live streaming. We say live streaming, but we pre-record on Saturdays. We edit and then we upload that night for a Sunday morning premiere during 10:30 when we have our regular scheduled service time. So it premieres on Facebook and YouTube like it is a live event. So
right. Okay, got it. Why do you think? Just you said something. Why do you think a lot of churches, and this is my assumption, I don't actually know if that's true, but I think a lot of churches shied away from going church online and live streaming because they thought that would impact physical in-person attendance. Like you kind of you made that comment. So what's behind that, or what do you think is?
I think more of it is really, I could speak for me personally. I think a lot of it is a fear of the unknown in a sense. Now I've had some experience where I served at other churches where we did institute live stream, and it wasn't the norm, but you would hear of people saying, "Hey, I stayed home and watched you this week because I didn't want to drive across town," but it was such a benefit to have, especially if somebody was homesick and they still wanted to connect and worship. I'm the type of person too, like once you get it going, and I kind of look at myself and say, that wasn't that hard. That was pretty easy. And then obviously pre-pandemic, we'd have questions about live stream. We even joked about the idea of multi-site, and guess what? Right now we're a multi-site church in a lot of people's homes, and
that's right.
And we're live streaming. And so I think the fear of the unknown, for me personally, once I got over that idea of it and seeing the process and seeing some of the interactions, the returns, we have a live stream player built into our website that brings in the YouTube feed, the live interactive chat. Us pastors can accept virtual live prayer requests and go into a private chat with people, things of that nature. So I think that's probably the biggest reason behind that.
Yeah.
But once you're there, you're like, oh, we should have been doing this for years. It was my thought.
Side note, when the pandemic hit, we launched TITHE.LY websites a little while back, and we kind of just went live to, the whole world. We really just were promoting it to customers. But as soon as the pandemic hit, our team said, oh man, we need to have this sort of concept of church online on the website. It's like a really easy pre-built page that lets you embed your live stream from Facebook or YouTube or Vimeo, have interactive chat, have the prayer wall, have the, so that feature has exploded. Churches are
That's awesome. We currently use another platform right now that literally in that 2 weekends alone, they jumped 30,000 churches in their user base. And so it's just crazy.
Totally. So, okay, you moved online, you did it pretty fast. And what have you learned through that process? Give us the highlights there.
I think, like I said earlier, I'm OCD when it comes to details sometimes. And so I think some of the biggest things.
You're on the admin side. So that's like a prerequisite.
I'm pretty sure that's like a design by God with admin guys. But so a lot of it was fine tuning appearance in terms of, this might sound silly, of, hey, that water bottle that you're using for practice on the worship set, it's going to be in the live shot. So let's move that a few things. So there was a lot of things. We would learn aesthetically with that. I think the crash course of live streaming through the Facebook, through the YouTube, whether or not to use Premiere or how to do that. And there's still lessons we're learning every single week. For example, this past Sunday, there was a typo or something I wanted to edit in the description of our Facebook Premiere. And about 8 minutes before we went live, I edited it real quick. And what I didn't realize is it actually delayed my live post by 7 minutes, because you have to have like a 15-minute window before you edit anything.
Wow.
And so like, there's another lesson right there. So that you can learn. And there's tons of resources. My wife and I, this might be a shout out, we've been pretty much reading every post Brady Shear has put out in the last 6 to 8 weeks, and he and other church leaders, you guys have been huge resource helps in terms of like, if we don't know, just learn it and find it on YouTube or on Facebook or some of these groups. And it's been a huge help.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the YouTube, the Facebook, the Google, all the places, right? There's resources galore out there to learn this kind of stuff. And for a lot of pastors or, church staff, volunteers, a lot of times they were thrust into going live or live streaming or recording or some version of being online, and they never had anything. So and
I'm adding cable repairman to my job description, because I had to terminate Cat 5 cables and literally learn how to do it on YouTube. And so
that's
just
it.
In case. Yeah.
I mean, one of the very first interviews I did was with a small church, and I think I've referenced this one a ton, but I just loved the story. I mean, he got his iPhone and went into the church. It's a, small church, 50 people, but he just live streamed to Facebook right from his iPhone and did it in the sanctuary, and figured it out. And so
that's been good.
Yeah. I love what churches are doing. What are you thinking about in terms of going back? Now that you've done all this live stuff and you've probably learned a bunch, how are you guys thinking about church online as you go back into physical services?
Well, we're actually planning this week what the reopening phases will look like, the game plan, the sanitation, what events will and will not happen. And we're about to put that out to our church family end of this week. And so, but one of the things that we've been asked a lot with online church, we have families that recently left Vegas and moved to other states that are asking us, hey, are you going to still keep doing this online thing? Or because we do two things. We have a 10 o'clock kids class that we put online with our children's director and puppets, and they're going through our curriculum. Right now they're in the Life of David and they're studying through that. And then at 10:30, we have our regular worship service. We've learned to those fears that we had before all this happened. We're like, no, like church online is the way to go. And here's the interesting thing. We're having the conversation of the way our regular service flow was pre-pandemic is now having to be reworked to fit a live structure. With some of the transitions and things of that nature. We're human. So obviously if it's not going to be like a perfect production in a sense, but at the same time too, like we're learning that we're having those conversations with our praise team, our media team and things of that nature. So hopefully we're a few weeks away. We will do like in-person services as the guidance allows us. At the same time, live stream. So we'll go from like pre-recorded to live actual on Sunday morning, but we'll probably do that the week or two before, just to test out what the live stream looks like on that before we kind of have that big in-person day. I don't know if we'll do like the cardboard cutouts of like people in our audience or anything like that, but so we'll see.
It's I mean, I was talking to one of the senior pastors at North Coast Church yesterday, Larry Osborne, and he's got a YouTube video out. But his take was really interesting. He was like, look, don't go back to church physically in the building until that experience can be as good as what people expect it to be. What they remember church being like in person. When they come back, if it's not that, that experience is sort of less, but they're all expecting, like everyone wants to go back. And everyone's expecting what they're used to doing. But if you go to church and you have to be 6 feet apart and you're wearing masks and kids, just there's all these things to think about. So I just thought it was a good perspective for church leaders to consider as they're doing all their planning. Because I think a lot of churches are in that mode right now of planning for going back.
And you got to be wise about it. You got to be cautious. The one aspect that we see that people miss out on. It's just that aspect of a relationship, of seeing someone or talking to someone, even if it's through a mask or even if it's a few feet apart. Some of our introverts are going to love the, hey, you have to stay out of my bubble anyway, so like just back up. But at the same time too, like I made the joke the other day and I had to like pull it back, and I said, I don't care, when everyone comes back, I'm just going to hug everybody. But I was like, wait, I can't do that. It's like mental hug. No, we're looking forward to it. We're trying to be wise with it as we plan it. Yeah, the elbow, that's the thing. So
yeah. Well, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what churches do. What so talk to me a little bit about giving. We were chatting kind of before this, and you highlighting kind of what you've seen God do through this time, how giving has gone. I mean, I think a lot of churches are seeing, well, I mean, it's like all over the map. A lot of churches have seen dips, but then kind of digital has gone up and it's recovered. Some churches are, still kind of hurting. What's it been like for you guys?
Well, first and foremost, I like how you said it. All the glory to what our giving has looked like goes to God, and it goes to God first and what He's done, and then how He has spoken to our people through their giving faithfully. And we've done several things. Having TITHE.LY established was a huge help. We were probably, I want to say, out of our church, about 15 givers, probably about, I want to say 20 to 25% of our givers were actively using TITHE.LY on a regular basis before all this happened. And obviously, when the pandemic started and the lockdown started happening, we had a lot more mail-in, and then our TITHE.LY numbers tripled in terms of number of givers and things of that nature. Wow. So some of the things that we did practically is we put out infographics, whether it was a text message or a social media post. Hey, here's the 4 ways you can give. We talked about mail-in. We talked about doing bill pay through your bank. We have a lot of families that do that. Yeah. We talked about the TITHE.LY, and then we talked about the text message giving option that we have through TITHE.LY. And we just kind of put that out there. I went back to my Zoom when I found out what Zoom was 2.5 months ago, and the fact that you can self-record a demonstration video. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, I have one of the cheesiest, like, hey, this is how you online give instructional videos. And, I love it. So I did that. Yes. I did that, walk through the TITHE.LY process. Another thing we did is we had, I was available in the office. We had some other staff as well. There was a handful of people that called and asked, hey, Pastor Dan, how do we give? Can you walk me through this? And so over the phone, I'd walk them through that process and explain to them the differences in how to give. So those were some of the ways that, like, right at the initial onset, that we communicated how to give. And I shared this with you about a couple weeks ago privately, just to shoot out a thank you, like, hey, thank you so much for your team. We've heard people say, hey, this giving platform, this pop-up window is very easy to navigate, very user-friendly. So props to the design guys on the UI.
Yes.
Yeah. And then also, like I said, it's ultimately God being faithful. But when this all happened, like many churches, we took our expenses and we trimmed the fat everywhere we could. Right. A lot of our extracurricular stuff. And but while we did that, our giving went from like 95% of our budget to 125% of our previous budget. So we saw about a 30% increase in the last 2 months than we saw the first 2 months. And it was like, we're scratching our heads saying, like, how is this happening?
Giving, just to like restate that for myself mostly, but maybe for the audience. So like giving is actually up. Just
and like your weekly, it's weird.
Monthly, however you measure it, is actually up through the pandemic.
Yeah. So it's gone up through the pandemic, and some of that was some abnormal gifts. Some of that was, stimulus check related, and we're wise to kind of see, what is, what isn't with that. But it was one of those things where we just really, and we've told the church, hey, thank you so much with how faithful you've been. Another thing we've done for the last 1.5 years, almost 2 years, as a staff, we read a book called Maximize by Nelson Searcy. And he talked about how he communicates the wins quarterly when it comes to giving.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And so every time, what we morphed into, instead of the end of the year giving a yearly annual giving statement, which we still do, we also give quarterly ones. And with that is a letter from our pastor saying, hey, over the past X amount of months, we've seen this many people make salvation decisions, this many people get baptized. Like, here's some tangible growth points as a result of your faithfulness in giving.
Right.
Obviously, our last letter was a little bit different because of like, hey, but here's the crazy thing. Even in January and February, we saw more first-time in-person visitors in that 2-month span than we've seen in any quarter for the last 2 years. So we were just flying with the number of guests coming in, and then everything closes down.
Right.
But no, it's been.
Do you have that online? Is that in like a PDF format or on your website?
I can definitely. Are you talking about the quarterly win letter?
Yeah, like the win letter. I think people would love to see an example of what that looks like.
I can definitely send that to you guys and put that out there. Just an idea of what it looks like. I can come back. I'll come back later in the comments of this and just throw the PDF.
I'll put in the comments
what that looks like.
People would love just an example, because I think that's a great idea. Like communicating in whatever way. I mean, I think you said two things great, like saying thank you, right?
Yeah.
Like thanking people, even during this time, if it's like, extra giving or giving based on their stimulus checks or whatever, it's people choosing to be generous through this time, saying thank you, and then telling people what's happening with the money that they're giving to God and they're giving to the church, like sharing those stories, talking about it. And you guys, the quarterly letter is a great example. And I'm sure you're also doing it on stage somehow,
Yeah. Like we'll have like an offering, like a generosity chat. And with our online, we went from replacing me with a younger lady in our church to do the hosting, like the beginning, the middle, the end. And like, so there's some different things that we instruct people on how to give, and all of it goes back to like, this is a choice of you worshiping God is what giving is. And yes, there are expenses, there's buildings and salaries and things of that nature to pay for during this time, but God's been great and people have been faithful. That's the main two things. So
and you mentioned using the church app as well.
Yes.
What have you done there? What have you noticed? What's working?
So the timing of our app rollout and the final design between me and the TITHE.LY team literally was right when the pandemic started. And so like some of your guys over there just helped me. Like we're constantly going back emails and getting things fine tuned. When we pushed out the app, let me rewind. About a year and a half ago, we were with another giving platform, and we had an app with them that only had, I want to say, 75 active device downloads. And then so right around the pandemic, we pushed out the TITHE.LY app. We tailored it to fit an online church model. Like the typical app layout was, events, this, and we put right in the middle our live builder. Obviously there's the giving and there's different events and calendar functions, but through our app, you can click live and boom, you're right there into our live church player on Sunday. We pushed it out, and in the probably 6 weeks since we've launched it, we've already got double the amount of device downloads that we had previously. And awesome. So we've communicated it. It's really a one-stop shop for everything. So that way people aren't having to dig through emails or Facebook pages to find links or things of that nature. It's right there. It's all in one place. It's been a huge, huge help.
I love just the idea of having everything centralized and then training the church to always go there. And if your live stream is there and your events are there, some churches use the prayer wall feature, the sermon notes features, giving, obviously, if all that's baked in, then your church just starts to use it on a regular basis, sometimes a daily basis, right? If they're listening to past sermons or referencing their notes, those kind of things, then all of a sudden the church is in the habit of engaging digitally all through your custom app. So
one of my favorite features is the cohesive newsfeed. It literally ties in every social media channel. So yes, you're going to see the same Instagram post and the Facebook post on the same feed, but literally you scroll down that, you don't miss anything. If any type of communication's gone out, it's all right there. And
like push notifications, sermon notes, events, like anything that's going on, any content you've published in the app or on other social media sites, all aggregates right there.
No, it's awesome.
It's a cool feature, especially if you can, again, sort of train the church by way of pointing them to the app all the time. Then they start to go, oh, this newsfeed is cool. And they start to look at it like looking at other types of social media. I love that. Well, let's talk about social media just a little bit as we wrap up. So how are you guys using social media to stay connected, engage with your church outside of just like live on Sundays or, church on Sundays? What else are you guys doing?
Well, we recently, obviously, with all this going on, we had to kind of refab our strategy with how we do social media, because that's where a lot of people are. Even before this happened, we were actively doing events and engager posts and inspirational verses or quotes just to kind of, encourage people throughout the day. So we do a lot of that still, probably a little bit more frequent now than we did. Instead of doing every other day, we're doing something every day now,
Right.
always pointing to some different things. So right now, our Sunday services are all online, but we didn't have a traditional midweek. We had life groups meet several nights throughout the week. So we took all of our life groups and consolidated them into a Wednesday night virtual life group that we currently use a Zoom and a Facebook plugin for our lead pastor and like one or two other men to kind of lead a Bible study through. Right now, we're going through the book of Psalms on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
And so that's been awesome. We've done Tuesday mornings, right before I came on with you. We had a Zoom virtual prayer meeting where our sermon series right now is on prayer.
Yeah.
And funny note, 9 months ago when we planned out our sermon series, all of our sermon series literally just like tied in perfectly with what we're going through right now. And that's just the Lord. That's nothing we could have planned. And so we've done that with social media. We've done the virtual life groups, the prayer meetings, just a lot of different interactions. One thing we've been doing for several years is something we call Oasis Live. It is probably the goofiest, funniest, cheesiest little TV show you can think of. But every Thursday, the lead pastor and I, we basically go on a Facebook Live video and just talk to kind of like some events that are going on the weekend, some things coming up a few weeks out. More recently, it's kind of had a little more serious nature as we try to instill hope and peace and calm. If you go to our Facebook page and look at last week, we totally didn't plan this, but we both were wearing Golden Knights shirts and Golden Knights hats. And we were twinning.
Yeah. Quick side note though, you're the first guest to also rock a hat, and I have had a hat on in every episode. We're approaching like 30 of these.
There you go.
It's just like pandemic hair. Like, why deal with like?
You don't want to see my Corona hair right now.
Yeah, so, there you go.
No, so you're good.
And props to the Golden Knights.
Yes, that's my hometown team.
So in the show, so anyways, like, so you're doing this kind of Facebook Live thing, and do you guys see some good engagement? Like, people just enjoy seeing you guys, connecting with you guys.
It's fun. Like, it's so casual and laid back though, but at the same time too, it gives us an opportunity to really connect. We had some issues regarding live comments actually showing up. So we stopped using our church page and went to like a personal page to broadcast it, and then went back and shared it later.
Right.
And so we have our core audience. We call them I call them the cubicle crew, because a lot of times when we're posting these videos, these people are supposed to be working, and they're very interactive. And we do have a lot of people watch after the fact, and they'll comment and things of that nature. It's a great information sharing thing. So if you had like registration links or anything of that nature, you could always throw that in the comments of that video and just push that video out. So it's been fun. And there's a lot of times where we break the seriousness of the flow of what we're saying, because we don't have a script per se.
Right.
But when someone throws a funny comment in there, there was something that happened last week that our pastor had said that I caught it right away, and everybody just focused on like, what was that? So he allowed his wife to do something, and we all had fun. We had fun with that.
It's over. Yeah.
It was over. And so the engagement side of it, it's just given us an opportunity. We were doing that for almost a year and a half, almost 2 years, and obviously a lot of the stuff happened. There's been a few weeks that we've missed, but that's been one of our constants in terms of connecting with people.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Just using social media, going live, which is kind of a new thing, and it's a bit strange, but people dig it. People like live content, and I think the casual way of your church and the members like being able to engage in that kind of format is creative, and it'll build over time. So I love what you guys are doing. I appreciate you coming on today. This has been a great conversation.
No problem, man. I will say this. Our social media stuff has been really great for our younger and middle-aged demographic. And we've walked through a lot with our older demographic on how to do that. The other thing that we've done is we have done phone calls, and we have done a lot of postcards and letters. And so,
or is that a thing, or you've done more now?
We've done more of that. Beforehand, it was kind of like every 6 weeks, like if we saw someone like consistently gone, we'd say, hey, we miss you, or that we'd send out the birthday or the anniversary cards and things of that nature. And then with the phone call stuff, it's just like our lead pastor said, hey, let's take a day, split up the phone call list, and let's call through our church. While I made a phone call last week, one lady in particular said this to me. She goes, I'm not even a member at your church, but I've gotten 3 letters and 2 phone calls in the last 3 weeks. And she's like, we never experienced that at any other church. And I just told her, I was like, well, praise God for that, because that's what we're here for. We want to stay connected. We want to help. So even if we do a lot of focus on the social media side, but going old school with phone calls and postcards and letters, don't forget that.
Yeah. So, handwritten notes, kind of things.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's probably, I think church has taken that away. Church leadership, like senior pastor writing notes, giving a phone call, those kind of things, meaningful.
Definitely.
I was talking to, on one of these shows, I was talking to somebody about like, doing the other kind of things. And they were saying, man, I've got Zoom fatigue. Like I just like picking up the phone now. And I think there's something really smart about that, because we're all on video all the time now.
Yeah, you got to switch it up, because we've seen the fatigue aspect of it too. On Sunday nights, I do our student ministry via Zoom. And so sometimes I'll see the numbers a little bit higher week 1, and they go back, and they're kind of a little bit of a roller coaster right now. But ultimately too, even if you have a Zoom call, or if you have something planned, call through your list of people that you want to make sure they're there, and just say, even if they're not there, you still made that verbal connection with them. And so, that's the key.
Yeah. Love that.
Yep.
Well, Dan, great to have you. We've been on for about 30, so I don't want to take too much of your time or this time. So appreciate this. Where can folks go to check out your website, to look at kind of your live streams and your Facebook lives?
OasisLV.church is our website. All of our social handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they end with OBCLV, Oasis Baptist Church, Las Vegas. So feel free to poke around. My email, I don't mind throwing this out there if you have any questions, is dan@OasisLV.church. If you have any questions with some things like that, I'd be more than happy to be a help and encouragement to whoever needs it.
Yeah, love it. And we'll post the website and things in the comments, and
definitely
help spread the word, and come back and share that quarterly letter example.
Yes.
And I think people will dig that. And man, appreciate you. If you are joining us live today, super appreciate you spending some time with us. Hopefully you pulled away a few nuggets of wisdom. If you're watching it recorded, same thing. Give the show a like, leave Dan a comment, tell him thank you for coming on, and we'll see you guys back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Have a great one.